Hey there, goblins. Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights. My name's Robert.
I'm Eric.
And today we're going to be talking about Howl of the Wild
Ooh.
Ancestries.
Ancestries.
They
Nothing
just
but the
added
Ancestries.
6 new Ancestries to Howl of the Wild. A couple of them, a bunch of them can be large. We have large Ancestries now. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we even touched on this in a recent video as well, but now we're going to go a little bit deeper because some of you guys out there in Discord land requested it, and we wanted to show that we listen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we were like honestly desperate for ideas for this month. I'm not going to lie. This is we're like, well, we already read the book. Let's just go deep on it.
Thank you, James, for coming up with this suggestion.
Absolutely.
James said on the Discord, as someone who hasn't read Howl of the Wild at all, an overview of the new Ancestries would be sick. So what would be wicked sick would be on top of that to see both of y'all do a mock character with the new Ancestry, not fully fleshed out, just like if you were to play a character with the new Ancestry, what would they be, who would they be, etc. And James, we took your suggestion to heart. That's exactly what we did. I made a 6th level mermaid for mine.
Yep.
Straight out of Disney. What did you do?
I made a 6th level giant barbarian minotaur who's a lumberjack.
I love it.
And I actually mine is actually created for Kingmaker.
Perfect.
So I put mine. I kind of took one of the NPCs that kind of got created in Kingmaker haphazardly, and I was like, what if they were a minotaur instead?
I love that. And for mine, I also tailored mine for my Edgewatch game. And this is sort of like, what if the Little Mermaid was an Absalom?
Oh, hell yeah.
So look forward to that. Stick around.
Awesome,
and
awesome.
Before we get to that point,
let's
we probably
thank
have
our
some
patrons
things to talk about.
Absolutely. So
Patron
we have
time.
3 new patrons. James, Matthias, I hope I said that right, and then Adam. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Goblin Tribe.
Trifecta of awesome.
The Tribefecta.
Trifecta. I want that on a shirt right here.
Tribefecta.
You can put that on our business cards.
Yeah. So just so everyone knows, we have a Patreon. Every month we come out with new custom third-party content for Pathfinder 2nd Edition.
It's getting better too, I think.
I do too.
We'd like to hear you weigh in on it.
What we're doing right now is we're coming up with a new iconic character for each of the classes in our own setting. So you get a little bit of player stuff, you get a little bit of DM stuff, and you get some really cool background lore and NPCs. All of those things you can rip right out of it and throw into your game, whether you're using them as a player option or using them as a DM option. We're basically just like soft starting our own publishing company, and the best way to do it is to practice making stuff for the game.
Exactly. And road testing them on you guys out there in patron land. So when we say iconics, for those of you who don't understand what the word means, maybe you're new to Pathfinder and you've been doing D&D for years up to now, iconics are literally playable characters that you can pull out of the book, take to your local game and say, this is the character I'm playing, full of stats, abilities, items,
a backstory,
a background.
Yeah.
And right now, we're just making a single iconic per month, per entry at level 10.
Yeah.
If you guys are interested in seeing those same iconics at varying levels, 5, 10, 15, 20,
just
whatever.
let us know.
You got to let us know.
Absolutely.
If you stay quiet, no problem. We'll just make them level 10. Because that's enough to get the zhuzh, as Robert likes to say.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's our Patreon. We've got a roadmap. I'll link it in the description below. Before we jump into the topic, as always, we got to talk about what we played.
Okay, you first, while I buy time to chew my tongue and think.
Well, we didn't actually get to play Kingmaker.
We didn't. So
Alanka was sick, and I was sick, and
that's right, the food poisoning.
Yeah,
Yuck.
yeah. She got food poisoning. I had like an ear infection. It was painful, and I couldn't hear anything. So I was like, last minute.
That's awful.
Let's not do this.
All right. So why don't we talk about the game you played in for Agents of Edgewatch?
Absolutely. I don't know. Maybe we haven't played Agents of Edgewatch since the last time we shot the last episode.
I'm pretty sure we haven't.
We haven't?
No, because we talked about the Under the Boardwalk and the
we did.
split scene
Okay,
and all
you're
that.
right. Yeah.
And that's the last one I remember.
I mean, Agents of Edgewatch is this Saturday.
Yeah.
So
a couple
no
days
pressure,
from now. Oh,
Eric.
crap. That means I need to start
You're
prepping.
going to be prepping.
We need to finish this video so I can
all right,
shut my
all right.
brain off and then switch over
So
to a GM
what we
mode.
played, nothing. Unfortunately,
Nothing.
Sadly, nothing. Boo. So yeah, let's dive right into the topic, I guess.
All right.
So 6 new Ancestries. got brought into the game via Howl of the Wild. Those ancestries are Athamaru, the awakened animal.
Sure, just these are funny names that people might not all know. So what is an Athamaru? Just super briefly.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Athamaru, uncommon ancestry. They're fish people.
They're fish people. That's it.
Anthropomorphic fish people.
Moving on.
Awakened animal.
Yep.
They're animals.
Yeah. It's Winnie the Pooh. It's a bear that is like a man now.
Yes. Or literally half of all popular anime right now.
Yeah. But specifically Winnie the Pooh. That's going to be important when we get to My Little Mermaid.
Or for my fellow millennials and Zoomers, think Beast Stars. Centaur. We all know what a centaur is.
Yup.
I hope.
Yep. It's the opposite of BoJack Horseman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a mantor. It's a centaur.
Okay. BoJack Horseman is actually closer to an awakened animal, I'd say. Hey, we're getting off topic. All right. Centaur, human on the top, horsey on the bottom.
Hot.
Merfolk.
My favorite out of this entire book.
What's really cool about Merfolk is that they gave us not just My Little Mermaid, but they gave us like shark Merfolk, and deep Merfolk, and just a huge variety.
Yeah.
They really leaned into like Merfolk being the humans of the sea.
Yeah, it feels like the Athamaru are fish on top, man on the bottom, and then the Merfolk are flipped. And that's how my brain categorizes it.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
But culturally very different.
Oh, yeah.
Like Merfolk, I can't wait to talk about them because they're like stuck up elves of the sea.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah,
we'll get into that. Yeah. Minotaur is anthropomorphic
strong like bull
person. Yeah. They really lean with the centaur and the minotaur. They really leaned into Greek mythology a lot.
Yep. Theseus and the Minotaur, Crete.
And then finally we have the Circe, which is rare.
I wasn't expecting that. That was a pleasant surprise out of this book. All the other ones I kind of saw coming. This was really cool.
So I wrote funny descriptions for all of these. I think what I said for Circe was like bug people. Inquisitive, magic-eating dung beetles. They start as larvae, then become people, then become magic people. That's basically that's the TLDR.
Yep.
And we'll do these TLDRs. So the way this is going to work is we're going to go down the list, starting with Athamaru, and we're going to briefly talk about what they are.
This is for you, James.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about what they are. We're also going to talk about their basics, like the ancestry basics.
Sure.
And then we're going to break down what the heritages are, because those are often the most important part of any ancestry. We're then going to talk about something I like to call build paths. I like to refer to the ways you can build a class as subclasses, to kind of borrow a term from 5th edition.
Right.
It's very appropriate. Some classes, the term subclass is pretty appropriate for some classes more than others, but across the board, pretty appropriate generally.
Yep.
With ancestries, you've got a lot less feats to work with. So I prefer the term build path. Generally, there's 1 or 2 or 3 sometimes themes that they kind of suggest you build towards. The Anathemaru, for instance, has like a scent. They have like a poison pheromone thing. So that's a build path. Yeah. Oh my God. Eric, so many memes could be happening.
I only have so many contributions to this one.
So yeah, we're going to talk about build paths, and then Eric and I are just going to talk shit about the ancestry itself. And I took a bunch of like, I don't think the goblins at home want to hear me go feat by feat and talk about how I like them.
Sometimes.
Like I can go.
Like I don't.
I can go full. If you want me to go full Nonat 1 on you sometime and literally just read what I think about each individual feat out of the book, please let me know in the comments. I will.
That could be its own separate video where Eric is out playing Zelda or something.
Can you imagine we have a split screen and you're out like you're like sitting on a grassy field with your dog, playing with your dog, and on the other one I
would love that.
I'm literally just like.
Or just like fucking me right here on this table with my Switch.
Sudden
facing
charge.
the camera. And then you just do the whole video without me. And I'm just ass up on the table. I'm here for that.
Face down, ass
my
up,
contributions.
Eric. Love to see it. All right.
Put my best ass forward.
So yeah, let's before we jump right into the ancestries, let's talk about this little primer they have here, special rules. So this is the first time we have access to large ancestries.
Yeah, and special rules are basically things you need to know, your GM needs to know, your players need to know.
Yep.
It covers topics as like large PCs. What if you're a tiny PC? What if you are a PC that can be ridden? What if you are an aquatic PC or a flying PC? You know, the things that we go, oh, shit, you're right. There's probably some rules I need to think about.
So let's start with large. Right up front, large is a 10-foot by 10-foot square, 2 squares by 2 squares. And that even counts for the centaurs. A lot of people like to think of centaurs as like
long,
5 feet wide and 10 feet long, but they're just 10 by 10.
10 by 10. This is not an attempt to approximate reality.
No.
Like we talked about over previous years with with how Pathfinder works.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into a point where I just got to go with it.
So landing on that topic, the gaminess of it, they don't naturally have reach. So they still only have 5-foot reach, but they do have 5 foot. They can reach 15 feet above them. So they have like top down on the mat. They can only have like a 5-foot reach.
So you're a cube and you can go 5 feet in any direction.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
4 by 4
You're
by 4.
a cube and you can go 5 feet in any direction. Exactly. Yeah. But there are feats for a couple ancestries that can be large that give them a reach kind of an effect, and you'll see that in my Minotaur build. My
Minotaur build pay to get the big thing, the
really
extra
leans
thing.
into it. They provide standard cover to small creatures or less, which is different from lesser cover. So normally in combat, a PC would give lesser cover to other PCs. A lot of groups forget about that, but it's true. Large creatures give standard cover, which is a pretty significant debuff to smaller friends. So
large to small is 2 size categories
exactly,
down.
And that provides standard cover.
Yeah.
And then squeezing, that's another important part. So basically any hallway that is 5 feet to 9.9 feet wide is difficult terrain.
Okay.
And
can we go back one real quick? You said something that's tricking my brain.
The standard cover?
The standard cover.
Sure,
so if you're a 4 by 4 by 4 square Minotaur and I am a sprite, do I get that cover just by standing behind you, or do I still have to do the take cover action in order to benefit from your size?
No, you still get, you have,
you just get it. It's like for free.
Not just a sprite, not a tiny creature, but a small creature.
A halfling. Sure.
So a halfling gets full cover or standard cover from a Minotaur.
Okay. And then if they do a take cover action, they can get greater cover?
Yeah, they basically get
perfect.
They can hide and stuff like that.
It's an important distinction and worth it for the smaller creators.
Absolutely.
Continue.
Squeezing and stuff, hallways, they basically get, like if you have a 5 foot wide hallway, they just move at half speed. But then squeezing comes into play when anything is smaller than 5 feet. Squeezing is an exploration activity. It takes about a minute or more to move 5 to 10 feet. So it's not something that's going to happen in combat. I said TLDR here on my notes. It's an exploration activity, aka it's so slow you can't do it in combat. So that's a major limitation, probably, especially if you're doing like a spelunking game or like maybe like Underdark game, Darklands or whatever. Take that into consideration, or just be an ancestry that breaks rock and breaks walls and just breaks through.
Just Kool-Aid man your way through.
Just Kool-Aid man.
Squeezing's for amateurs.
And you'll see like the Minotaur actually has like a really cool. Minotaur's got a lot of really good ancestry feats, honestly. But they have one ability where they literally phase through stone walls, which is kind of broken. Anyway, going on, AoE damage. AoE damage in difficult, dangerous terrain affects you just like a normal medium creature. And large armor doesn't cost you any more than like medium-sized armor.
These are things I just assumed would have been the opposite, so it's good to call out now.
They're pretty much saying you're large on the squares on the mat, but you act as a medium creature, Surgerus Paribus, like everything else remaining the same.
Yeah, they're basically saying you guys were whining about us making a large creature, but you don't want to pay the penalty for like larger armor sizes or crossing through hazardous terrain.
Actually, I'd say it's the opposite.
Think so?
Yeah, no, they don't want. The problem with large PCs is they're intrinsically more powerful, and they have the ability to cover more area than a medium PC. So in my opinion, like they've significantly neutered what they could have made a large PC.
Oh, sure, totally, yeah.
Like they could have easily just slapped the rare tag on every single large PC, and that probably still wouldn't have been enough to like make up for reach and some of the other things.
No.
So I don't know. In my opinion, being large, unless your build leans into it, it's honestly the juice ain't worth the squeeze, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I think halfling full plate male should be cheaper than minotaur full plate male.
maybe.
Yeah.
In
But it's
our
not, because the economy is more math than realism.
well, okay. It's a little economics tangent here. That's assuming that resource scarcity is the same in this fantasy world that it is in our world,
Okay.
right?
So is it cheaper to build a birdhouse or a cottage?
In our world, it's cheaper to build a birdhouse because less materials and less labor is taken care of.
Sure.
But in this world, they have magic. So the builders can use magic to make things. So
Yeah, but you don't magic up a set of full plate mail. I mean, I've never seen a book that suggests that.
Right. But like my point is like the second you start adding magic to any system, any sense of
Of the one-for-one comparison disappears.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, that makes total sense. Yeah.
All right, jumping into tiny PCs. So tiny PCs, a lot less rules here. They have a reach of 0, meaning they have to be in your square.
Yep.
Something I wanted to point out here is that means you're going to be very prone to attacks of opportunity. Because when you move into the threat range of an opponent and then you have to then move into their square in order to hit them, that's a trigger for an attack of opportunity or reactionary strike. So going back to cover, you don't get lesser cover for being in someone else's space. So like being in your enemy's space doesn't give you lesser cover. Being on the other side of them will give you lesser cover, but being in their square doesn't give you lesser cover. However, you can often use them, especially friends, to hide. So you can like hide behind their leg, but because of being in their square doesn't necessitate. Necessitate? Yeah, it doesn't necessitate having lesser cover. So
always protect the smalls.
Always protect the smalls. Absolutely. All right, so that's the TLDR for tiny PCs.
So that's large and tiny writing. Anything important?
Very important. Okay. Again, the designers did. You can either. Oftentimes in game design, you have to make a choice whether something's going to be intrinsically powerful or it's going to be just not powerful enough to be a cogent option for like a good game. And this is kind of the case here. So writing other PCs. When you write another PC, both the rider and the mount only get 2 actions every turn.
Instead of 3. Why is that?
Instead of 3. Because in the way they describe it in the book is because the riding PC is spending an action trying to stabilize themselves, and the mount PC is spending time balancing the person on their back. It's
a reach, but
I
get it.
Yeah. Also, the other thing is you both roll initiative together, and you both go on the lowest initiative out of the 2 rolls.
That's cool. I did like that.
Yeah. So the reason they have to balance it this way is because if it wasn't balanced this way, one of those PCs would be getting a bunch of free movement.
Right.
Especially because the Centaur is fast as fuck, boys.
Yep.
He is fast as fuck.
Centaur
Starts
monks with Elven heritage.
Oh my God. Centaur barbarians. My God. You can begin stacking the speed to an obscene number. Anyway.
And then give them that water walk ability.
Oh yeah, exactly. Fucking Jesus Centaur over here. So that's the big caveat here. The other thing is you have to be 2 sizes smaller in order to ride.
That was a strange one for me, but okay, I can roll with that.
So you have to be a halfling in order to ride a large centaur.
Right.
Yeah. Or if you're tiny, you could be like a medium centaur, and you could be a tiny creature could ride a medium creature. So
but no orcs on the centaurs.
A fey creature. Well, we'll get to centaur. They have a special thing that says creatures of 1 size smaller can ride them.
Okay.
So there is caveats here. Caveats.
Asterisks. Little Sammy Sosa bits.
Yeah. Aquatic's pretty straightforward. Book basically says if your player really wants to like play The Little Mermaid,
And who doesn't?
and you're not playing in a water game, consider giving them like a wheelchair for aquatic people,
Yeah.
or just give them legs. Just give them the I have legs feet, which I think is honestly fair. Yeah, that's totally fair. Finally, flying PCs. The way I read this, if your player really, really insists on having flying at first level or whatever, let them have flying at first level for 15 feet. But also, consider not playing with a player with that kind of pick-me energy. You know?
Like me energy is delicate energy to work around.
Kind of Yikers Island. It's kind of Yikers Island. If you're like, I want to play an anthropomorphic bird, I'm like, okay, sweet, we have an option for that. Dope. And they're like, oh, but I have to fly at level 1. And I'm like,
is there anything else about my game I can wrap around your needs right now?
Exactly.
At the expense of the other 4 people at the table?
Exactly. Like, and they say they lay it out pretty plainly here. Like, balancing the game for flying at level 1 is very difficult. And they're basically like, you just basically have to put an archer in every single one of your encounters to shoot the flying one.
Yep.
Or nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So those are all the caveats and special rules that we need to keep in mind going forward.
So we covered large, tiny, riding, aquatic, and flying.
All right. You want to talk about him? You want to talk about the fish man? Fish man on the flying boat?
No, Fishman is you. I'm about the mermaid, so I'll keep my trap shut till we get there.
All right. Athamaru, fish people. They can be large, which is an option we'll cover here in a minute. They are, Kurzgesagt, a community-forward eel-riding fish people. They can communicate via pheromones. They have an interesting like sexual makeup where they become a matriarch and then bear eggs because they're not mammals. So like our conventional idea of sex is often predicated on the fact that we're mammals, but non-mammalian creatures, especially in fantasy like this, don't.
You and me,
those
baby,
rules.
ain't nothing but fishies.
Exactly. So
Finish that line in your head.
the basics of the Athamaru, they get a swim speed. They start off with 8 HP, 20-foot swim speed, 20-foot speed, 25-foot swim speed.
Yep.
Their basic bonuses are in strength, wisdom, a free with a negative, and intelligence.
That was cool. The strength and wisdom together, and they're fish people. I don't think of fish as strong and wise. So that was it feels almost like there's a, I don't know, forgive my own Western ignorance here, but that feels like there's a bit of an Eastern flavor.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're the main population of Athamaru in the lore are actually in Tianjia.
Okay.
Tianjia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then they get low light vision. Just a reminder for all the goblins out there, there is a rule that you can just disregard the stated ancestry ability boosts.
Attribute boosts.
And just like
Boosts.
attribute
boosts.
Attribute boosts. And y'all can just take whatever
That's
you
where
want.
accents came from. It's just easier to say things
absolutely.
when we done been drinking.
There's no alcohol in this.
That's not what my imagination says.
So yeah, you could just take 2 free ability boosts instead of taking the plus and then 1 minus.
Absolutely, and I always encourage that at my tables I play at perfectly.
Yeah.
But that being said, I do appreciate that it's here because you had the 2 attribute boosts.
Yeah.
God damn it. Attribute boosts.
Attribute boosts.
And you also have the attribute flaw that's typically associated. And while that's clearly problematic when you really get into it, it's intelligence for these guys. So they're wise and they're typically strong. They're community school-minded.
Yeah.
But
school-minded. Oh, I just got that. I literally just got that. Wow. All right.
They don't they don't do the smart thing too well.
They don't read good like
as
me.
a collective.
For the record, I don't actually read good. All right,
that's okay. We love you anyways.
Let's talk about the heritages.
God, that art is so delicious.
Art is really cool. I love their cute little snouts.
Yep.
So we've got coral, hopeful, kaleidoscopic, and quilled. So going down the list, coral basically gives you a medium armor baked onto your ancestry. So you have like you have a symbiotic relationship with coral that's growing and living on your body.
That's rad.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of their culture too. We'll get into that here in a minute.
Like living armor.
And basically you have armor and you can't wear any other armor. We've seen this before in the snake people.
The Lamia, the Naga.
No, they have a special Paizo name because, you know.
Oh, the special name.
Yeah, the special Paizo name. Because they have to
The one
trademark
that's 24
everything.
characters long.
Exactly.
And maybe 3 vowels.
Yeah, exactly. But it is in my favorite book, Impossible.
Impossible Lands. Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. If the problem about it is like it's a heritage no one is going to take
Lamia.
unless what? No, this heritage, like the coral heritage.
Okay, we're back to these guys.
Yeah, the coral heritage is an ancestry no one's going to take unless they're going to use it. So you're never going to see like a caster with the coral heritage. You're almost always because you don't have the strength to like keep it.
And you can put runes on your coral armor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you can rune it up, whole 9 yards.
Rune it up,
It
baby.
acts like a breastplate. And then you got the hopefuls. So the hopefuls are the matriarchs. What's cool about the hopefuls is they're large. They get large size. I think they get like some other minor bonus. A 10-foot aura that grants any ally a +1 circumstance bonus on saving throws against fear.
Okay.
Good old fear.
Right.
I have a pet peeve in these design spaces for very specific bonuses to specific saves and things like that. There's one later that I'll talk about that really set me off. The reason I don't like them is because they're the kind of bonus you put on your sheet and then forget about. And then even when you go to roll your save, even if maybe you're smart and you actually wrote a note, the notes next to each of your saves are going to be like a mile long, and they make your character sheet unreadable. I understand that designers want to make stuff like this, but if it's annoying to use, it won't get used, and then you just feel bad for forgetting it later.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah, back in my tech writing days, you had a WYSIWYG view of the document that you were working with, and it's what you see is what you get. And then you had the other less friendly view of the document, the one that's almost like the Matrix running down if you know how to see it, read it, and interpret it. I just really wish I had a character sheet like that, because you're right. Sometimes there are just a lot of I before E except after C kind of exceptions with some of these numerics.
Yeah.
And it's like +1, -1, +2, -2, 0, except in this situation and that situation.
And like this is one of
I
the
don't wanna deal with
arguments I see against games like Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and I think those arguments are totally valid. So take that.
Yeah, it's overhead. Some people like to have all of that overhead,
Yeah.
and other people not so much. It gets in
And
the way.
like I'm the kind of person you would expect to like that overhead,
But it still rubs you wrong.
I don't. I just.
Is that true as a GM and as a player?
Oh yeah,
Or
absolutely.
one more than the other?
No. Like both.
Okay.
Absolutely both.
I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. All right, getting back to the heritages, we've got kaleidoscopic, which might be
That sounds rad.
the worst.
Flashy fish?
Yeah, it's literally bright shimmering scales. You get a +1 performance. You get a +1 bonus to your performance checks, and then you get another hyper specific reaction. Okay, this one's kind of neat. I think. You want to read it to the audience? It's a reaction.
Me. Dazzle Seeker. Reaction misfortune tag. Trait. Trigger. A creature attempts a flat check to target you due to you being concealed from it.
Okay, keep going.
Effect. You flash your bright scales into the creature's eyes, making it hard for them to pinpoint your exact location. The creature must roll the flat check twice and take the worst result.
So
Time to swap that shit out.
it's so yeah, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah, it's a thing you can do.
Why would you have the concealed trait, Eric? What's the most common reason why you would have the concealed trait?
Oh, I do like to hide myself.
Why would you show in your glimmering scales if you're hiding from someone?
It just sounds like a, pocket sand kind of situation.
It kind of is, yeah. It kind of is.
That's the only place my brain can go.
It is actually, if used right, an incredibly
Like ambush tactic?
powerful ability. So, you know me, I love my fog. You often get concealment when you're in fog. What you can do is just throw fog down, find a way to make it so you don't get concealment, but your opponent does. Like the smoke worker hobgoblin, for instance, has a see through the smoke thing. So just like throw smoke bomb down and then start shanking motherfuckers in the smoke because they get concealment against you, but you don't get concealment against them. And
you can tell he enjoys this.
Yeah. So this would be a way to make that even more powerful.
Sure.
Where they get turbo concealment, where they get disadvantage, and then you get like nothing if you could figure out a way to round it.
They can call it the shanking motherfuckers underwater.
Yeah, you would. Okay, hear me out.
TM.
I'm cooking. You have a Athamaru versatile heritage with a hobgoblin. I'm cooking.
Smoke water, smoke on the water.
This
goblin.
is the kind of like Johnny style abilities that make me want to make a busted character, and by pulling things from random pieces of different books and stitching them all together. That's like the fun shit I remember from like first edition days that we can't really do anymore. But maybe we're just glad at the end of the tunnel. Quilled is the last heritage. You get a 1d6 piercing attack. Natural attack
Sticky
heritage.
Fish.
Yay, natural attack heritage. All right.
Poi it up.
So at the end of the day, you get what? 1, 2, 3, 4 different heritages, all pretty interesting, pushing you in different places. Let's talk about the build paths. The Athamaru really love eels. They have like riding eels underwater. And one of the major build paths for the Ancestry is like having an eel familiar that you can grow into an eel companion. And eventually he's like a big eel and you can ride him around really efficiently.
And then your eel gets rabies and you have to take him out behind the watery woodshed and put him down.
Exactly.
And then Eel Yeller. I think that was the movie.
Yeah. Eeler. I tried. Pheromonal and odor poison damage. So they have like a fart attack is basically what it is, dude. I want to make it an Athamaru who's like a sorcerer or like someone who just spams stinking cloud at all times.
Fish.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a farting fish. And then there's another build path that kind of leans on their coral symbiosis. That's pretty cool. It lets you basically get a bunch of resistances to like poison damage and get over poisons and stuff like that. Situational, but when that situation comes up, you're a fucking god among fish.
Yeah, the mermaids have something similar to that too. I noticed they went a little more into the poisons. It is Howl of the Wild, the nature book, so it was kind of cool to see them absorb that into heritages and ancestries a little bit. Yeah,
so unless you goblins want me to hear my opinions about every single feat, we can
Should I climb on the table and play my Switch now?
Absolutely.
I thought that was another video.
So yeah, we can move on, I think, to Awakened Animals. That's the Athamaru. Pretty cool fish people.
Yep.
Next up is Awakened Animal.
The upraised bear. That's where that whole conversation started years ago on the message boards.
Exactly.
And we finally have it.
Exactly. So the Awakened Animal, fucking animal people, they have an option to be large. Pretty much all of them can be large. The idea is if the animal that you're coming from is a large animal, you're large.
Yeah.
If it's a medium animal, you're medium. And if it's a tiny animal, you're tiny. So instead of giving ancestries, because this is a rare creature, normally it's only ever created by a ritual that like druids cast called Awaken Animal. It's a rite of passage, I think, for players to one day play in a table where one person at the table is playing the Awakened Animal.
Yeah, we're all furries at heart.
Exactly. And I'm just happy that we've finally arrived. You know, it took them long enough.
Yeah.
It took them long enough.
It did. I'm surprised, and I'm elated for it because I can finally tell those Watership Down stories, those Winnie the Pooh stories.
Well, you ran that crazy LA noir.
Yeah, San Francisco Disney noir.
That was weird.
Yeah.
We all played like Disney animal
Tigger was
characters.
a crackhead, and Winnie the Pooh was on heroin, and they all drove around in a hatchback together into Oakland to score. Yeah, it was.
And keep in mind, this is all in the Pathfinder system.
It was. Yeah, we didn't have any of this shit here, so I had to hand wave a bunch of
back
stuff.
in the old days.
But now we can like legitimately do this in ways
true.
that even Pathfinder Society could be like, yeah, you could do that at our table.
It is rare, so PFS is going to have
sure. Yeah, they got rules.
Yeah, they got
But
rules.
yeah, upraised or awakened animals.
Awakened.
Yeah, we keep calling them upraised because that's.
You keep calling them.
Well, I say we. I mean, like on the message boards for years.
Oh, okay.
Like uplifted. That's the word. It was an uplifted bear.
Got it. So awakened animals. An awakened animal is more than just an animal with a high intelligence.
It is.
They sometimes have opposable thumbs.
That matters.
Yep.
That matters.
One of the actually really interesting and important pictures is
that's my favorite.
this one with the tortoise just casting water ice spell, and then in my opinion, it's this one the
stag,
the elk, the deer,
the not moose,
not moose.
That's later in the book. We'll get there.
They're not today. They're casting like a spell, but you can clearly see their hands are just like human hands, but their feet are hooved. So they say in the book, basically, this magic takes many forms, and you can either be full animal and you just can think now, or maybe you stand upright, wear clothes, and have opposable thumbs for some reason. Maybe you got polydactyl cats. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind when you're making your awakened animal character. They can have hands. It's totally fine. Or you could be a bird, kung fu bird, and fight with your feet.
Is there an archetype for satyrs yet? The goat men?
No, that's not really
to get my my Grail game, my Greek mythology game. That one and the Cyclops are the two I need, and I can get the satyr here.
They're not going to come out with Cyclops for a while because Cyclops are big in Pathfinder lore. Like they're very important in the Pathfinder lore.
Right, yeah. So eventually they'll do like a half giant or a hill giant kind of a thing.
I think this definitely opens the door to doing something like that.
But this is my satyr right here. I can reskin this to a satyr and be happy with it.
So let's talk about the heritages.
The
way that they did this is they basically said your heritage is your mode of transport, your modal way of walking around. So
so you're climbing, you're flying, you're running, or you're swimming. Is there a fifth one?
Nope. That's it.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. So are you an animal
things you do
that climbs? You get a 20-foot land speed and 20-foot climb speed.
Simple enough.
I'm going to leave flying to the end because,
Can I get that at level 1?
Yes. We'll actually talk about that. That's an important part. So running.
Pick me.
Running, you get a 30-foot land speed. That's like you're playing an ostrich or literally any animal like a tiger or something like that. You're a running animal. You get 30-foot land speed. Swimming, you either swim 30 feet and have no land speed, but you can water breathe, or you get a 20-foot land speed, 20-foot swim speed, and you can hold your breath for 10 minutes. So if you want to play an awakened alligator, that's what you pick.
And who doesn't?
Exactly. That's my next character. Is an awakened crocodile.
Not like a were-crocodile, but an awakened crocodile?
No. Awakened crocodile wizard.
Yeah.
So... we didn't talk about the stuff. Variable HP based on the size. That's kind of neat.
Yep.
So a large.
Go back.
Let's see. A large gets 10 HP, medium gets 8, and tiny or small gets 6. Kind of cool. And then they get con, whiz, and a free boost, and then a -2 intelligence.
Yeah, which is funny because the idea of being an uplifted animal is gaining sentience and intelligence. You're an intelligent creature, but that's your flaw.
I think it makes sense actually. When
it does, yeah. It's
to
just
me,
funny
it's
how
an
it works
homage to like the old awakened animal spell, where it's basically like you take the animal and then roll 2d4 and add that to your intelligence score. And that's your intelligence now. And a lot of times if you max it out, you get like an int of 11, which is crazy. So it makes sense to me. It's pretty much an homage, I think, to like the classic awakened animal ability. But and then going back to the heritages, we've got flying. All right. So land speed of 20 feet. And then you can not take falling damage by putting out your arms and floating to the ground. Now, at first level, you get access to a feat called Take Flight. Eric, read us Take Flight.
Take flight. I need to burp first. Okay,
Gross.
Take Flight. It's a single action. Feat 1, Awaken Animal is the trait. Prerequisite, Flying Animal Heritage. Frequency, once per round. Though it's not fully effective, much of your ability to fly has stayed with you. You fly. If you don't normally have a fly speed, you gain a fly speed of 15 feet for this movement. If you are not on solid ground at the end of this movement, you fall.
Yeah. So imagine a chicken.
Am I reading that right?
You do. Imagine.
Oh no, I'm out of actions. Plummet?
No. You can only use this once per round. So the way this works is you fly up 15 feet and then fall.
You can only play a rooster if you're taking this.
You do get feats later that allow you to have full flight.
Okay, so you can change from a rooster into something else.
Into an eagle.
A condor.
An eagle.
Sure.
A condor. Exactly. Right. The idea here...
It's like the caterpillar to a butterfly transition.
Yes. The idea here is that you slowly but surely regain your ability to fly as you level up, because from a mechanics perspective, giving flight at level 1 is busted.
Right.
And giving it at level 9 makes perfect sense.
Yep, don't be that goblin.
So we have to give you like a bridge between here and there. And frankly, even this is pretty darn powerful.
Yeah.
Because you can literally fly up 15 feet and grab an edge. You can grab something. And now you're just 15 feet higher than everyone else.
Right.
And you can do that again and again and again.
You are
not
indirectly asking your GM to build a substantial chunk of adventures around your specific character at that point.
You do this once per round. So you can only go up 15 feet once per round. You know what I mean? So I like it. It's a good, in my opinion, it's actually a really well-balanced workaround to let the player who's playing a bird person, feel like a bird person without completely destroying the balance of the game.
And it creates a whole lot of opportunity for comedy.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. So build paths that are in the awakened animal, you're going to see this a lot. Minor spell casting. You get access to a cantrip at level 1, and then you get access to some spells later on, and they're all primal themed or divination themed. I think actually for the awakened animal, they're only primal. For the minotaur, they're divination, no, not divination, divine. No, they're divine or primal.
Wow.
Yeah. The other build path is fly good. If you're flying, all of your ancestry feats go into being actually flying.
Sure.
And then there are just some random fighter feats they threw in here and renamed, basically.
Yeah.
Or Mama says we got these fighter feats at home kind of things. You know what I mean? So, and then besides that, there's a bunch of miscellaneous feats. Every one of these ancestries has the awakened animal lore. They have the ancestry lore, and then they also have actually awakened animals don't have it. They're the only ones that don't, but they have like the natural weapons of that ancestry. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, Paizo has decided to make all of the feats that give you access to weapons just bad most of the time, because they give you access to martial weapons and not like unique weapons like the gnome flick mace or interesting options. So it's like the only time you would ever take that feat is if you were a martial class. But if you're a martial class, you have access to all those weapons anyway. So why would anyone ever take this feat ever? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they're just like they've created their own golden cow and now they're following it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, so there's
if somebody can explain it to us, please do.
Tell me in the comments. I legitimately want to know the logic here. Besides that, there's just a bunch of random feats. There aren't a lot of feat requirements besides the like master in nature or like survival, master of survival, or like or the fly good. That's a whole feat chain on its own. But besides that, that's the awakened animal.
Seems pretty accessible.
It's a smattering. I think what they did is they wanted to make it super general and not create a lot of build path because, there's
a lot of animals you can choose from.
Exactly. So there's a little bit of something for everyone.
Yeah.
If you want to play an anthropomorphic animal from an anime or manga, this is your ancestor.
And again, who doesn't?
Again, it's rare. So ask your GM.
Make your Winnie the Pooh builds and put them down here. All classes are on the table. I want to see a kineticist Winnie the Pooh.
Absolutely.
What
element
would
they bend? Oh my God. Yeah, of course. It's wood.
Or it could be water.
What was I
honey.
even thinking? Oh, yeah.
I want to see a Magus Winnie the Pooh.
I can see Eeyore bending his own tears.
And instead of a sword, he's got like the beehive on his hand.
Yeah.
And he's Magusing. Just
okay. I know
all of your Winnie builds.
We're tangenting super hard right now, but there's a archetype in this book called a swarm caller.
Yeah.
What if you had Winnie the Pooh, the swarm keeper? Winnie the Pooh with bees, the swarm keeper of bees.
Yeah.
That'd be sick AF. All right.
See, we're going to go to the 100-acre woods in our next adventure.
It's going to get dark.
With Howl of the Wild. And it's going to get all Tim Burton up in here.
It's going to get dark. All right, let's talk about Centaur. Human-horse hybrid. They are large. There is one ancestry or heritage option to be small.
A miniature pony?
I'm actually really proud of this description. Centaurs. Nomadic hippies that also love competing, bragging rights, and sports.
Yep. That's the ancient Greek tradition.
That's
if you're
basically
half
what
man,
they
half
are.
horse.
Yes. Right on the nose. It's as Greek as possible.
Even the artwork. Yep.
Yeah. What I love about it is they have some Greek options here. And then later on in the book, they have like
They go
Native
other
American.
ethnic. Yeah.
Exactly. And then they have like,
Sacagawea centaur.
and then they have like super hyper
That look
Roman.
Persian. Yeah.
Is that Persian? Okay.
It looks Persian to me.
Persian. That makes sense. The armor, for whatever reason, I read is like almost Roman, but I think I can see Egyptian or Persian or something. Definitely. So yeah, centaurs. Let's talk about centaurs.
Let's do it. You got to be 2 sizes lower to ride on them. I'm still tripping over that one in my
for
head.
centaurs you don't actually. So that's an important difference here. So they're large.
Mm-hmm.
They have a base land speed of 30 feet, base 8 HP, plus strength, plus wisdom, free, negative charisma. They get dark vision for whatever fucking reason.
Can horses see in the dark?
No reason why they should have dark vision. And then they have, then they can carry +2 bulk, so they can just carry more
That's
bulk,
cool.
which is great, amazing. And
they're
then they
uncommon.
have a mount ability. So their mount ability reads.
I read.
Okay, Eric. That's right. I wrote like most of the script for today's episode, so I need
Yeah,
to give you
I'm
things
looking
to
for
say.
things to do at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Mount, your equine body is well suited for carrying trusted allies, not your shady allies, just your
Just the
trusted
trusted
allies. A PC can ride you if they are one size category smaller than you, medium size for most centaurs, rather than needing to be 2 size categories smaller. So it's minotaurs that need to. That you need to be 2 sizes smaller in order to ride them.
You know, we've already seen other ancestries that are large as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. The mama
Minotaurs, the mama fish.
fish. You know, a mama bass.
So we got
She
minotaurs,
was a 60s performer.
mama fish. We got large bears and or moose.
Yeah. No
Awakened-
credit for that joke.
Awakened moose.
We got a harsh audience
The
here.
mooses.
Yeah.
The mooses.
What's the plurality for moose? Is it meese?
Mooses? No, it's
Mooses?
mooses.
A duffel bag of moose.
Mooses. So yeah.
You're so fired.
They're honestly kind of fucking stacked.
Yep.
For a uncommon ancestry. They're, in my opinion, right out of the gate, a little too powerful.
Yeah.
I would definitely take dark vision away. I want to. There's a couple options in the book that I want to talk about. There's a little bit of creep. This is a little bit of
power creep showing up in Howl of the Wild.
Splat book power creep.
People
yeah.
like power creep out there.
Yeah. So let's talk about the heritages. We've got budding speaker, fleet wind, iron hoof, model coat, pony gait, and stout heart. So budding speaker, you get a free primal or divine cantrip of your choice. I love it. Very useful, especially if you're trying to build something and there's like a hole in your build and you want to fill it with, you can pretty much cast any cantrip in the book between divine and primal. This is also setting up the ancestry for its build path. Surprise! Minor spellcasting is a build path you can do with centaurs. And no one was surprised. So Fleet Wind, one of the first incredibly powerful heritages that they have access to. You get 5 feet more of movement. Mm-hmm. You move 35 feet at level 1. Mm-hmm. That's fast as fuck, boys. That's fast as fuck. I mean, when you compare that to like another ancestry that might only move 20 feet, like a dwarf or something like that, you are now going almost double their speed at level 1. Right. That means they need 2 actions in order to reach you, because a lot of players and GMs don't realize that movement is so powerful because it at certain breaking thresholds, it literally removes actions from your opponents, especially if they're melee.
Right.
So you can just take 1 move action and you might have to remove 2 of their actions. So if I'm faster than you significantly, I can spend 1 of my actions and remove 2 of your actions because you have to now take 2 actions to get next to me. These guys are really good at that. Iron Hoof, they get a natural attack, 1d6 kick. Yay. Model Coat, they're sneaky, but only in a specific...
That's Mottle, M-O-T-T-L-E.
Yeah, but they're only sneaky in a specific terrain. Aw, it's terrible. What a terrible idea. And It's just bad design. I'm sorry. It's like, oh, are you in the hills? Well, then you're sneaky. But outside of that specific terrain, this heritage is absolutely useless. Bah, 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 bah. So, all right. We're going to talk about the broken one. Ponygate. You're medium-sized. Okay. And then, for whatever reason, you get a +1 bonus to reflex saves. Just period.
Okay.
You just get a +1 circumstance bonus to reflex saves.
I don't know a lot about horsey things, but I can't help but wonder if Ponygate is a term that's in the equine world.
I think it is.
And that's kind of the thing.
Yeah, sure.
So
but like
that's the only place my brain goes to justify that.
the +1, you're going to see when we get to Minotaurs and their small version, they're so much more worse than this.
Yep.
Getting a +1 bonus to a save at level 1 is nutter butters powerful, especially on this chassis where you still move 30 feet. You still have dark vision.
Yeah.
You still have mount. You
So
still
what are the
have,
drawbacks to centaurs? It sounds like they're getting a lot of boosts and not a lot of drawbacks.
They just don't.
Oh, okay.
They just don't have drawbacks. They're just good.
They're just not charismatic, so they can't like intimidate you as well as other ancestries.
guess.
They can't diplomance you as well.
in
Sweet talk you as
the
well.
grognard circles I grew up in. There was this belief because they were men of culture that hooved animals couldn't walk upstairs very well, which is true in real life. And they would like arbitrarily throw these weird negatives on you if you had ever had to walk upstairs and stuff like that. But then again, like centaurs in 3rd edition were stupid powerful. So it was...
That works until you start talking about goats.
Yeah. Let's not look at the animals that live in the mountains,
Right,
Eric.
right,
It's
right.
playing a little too much logic.
I
to
mean,
it.
not all hooves.
Yeah, hashtag not all hooves. And then finally, we've got Stoutheart, +2 HP, and +1 circumstance bonus to acrobatics to balance, or reflex to trip.
To avoid being tripped. Okay.
Yeah, to avoid being tripped. This is kind of mid. Normally, I like bonuses to HP.
Yeah.
But because you already start at 8 and you go up to 10, you're only going up 2.
Right.
Whereas the goblin ancestry has an option to go from 6 to 10, which is very good.
Right. Which is why goblins are superior to centaurs.
Absolutely.
We don't even lose our charisma bonus.
No, we don't. We actually get
Is that
more,
true?
We get more charisma.
We get more charisma. That's
Yeah.
right.
All right, so let's talk
Explosive charisma.
let's talk about build paths. Minor spellcasting, like we said before. Being someone's mount is really good. This is actually a feat that'll have you read because
Is that
actually,
a relationship status?
It absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely. Accommodating mount. Eric, read it for the people.
For the people.
For the people. This isn't out.
This is not alphabetical. Where am I looking at? There we go. There we go.
When we
Okay.
post this video, it will not be on Archives of Nethes yet. So hopefully we are your sole repository for this information.
There is only our campfire.
Take it away, Eric.
5th level accommodating mount. I'm going to shut up now.
All right.
Centaur trait. It is a 5th level feat. You've trained to serve as a mount, if only for your most trusted allies. Again, your shitty allies just have to walk.
Not those sketchy allies.
What you know who you are.
Not those 34.
Those of you who decided to be that goblin, you can't ride the centaur.
Not those 34 felony goblins.
86 those bastards. Find a new adventuring troop, schmuck.
All right, keep going.
When another PC rides you as a mount, your expert coordination allows them to gain 3 actions at the start of their turn, rather than the 2 they would normally have for riding another PC. See page 9.
It's important here that you still only have 2 actions.
Right.
But they get their full 3.
Right, so it's not 6, it's 5.
In my opinion, this actually makes the duo mount borderline feasible.
Sure, yeah.
Because
You have to build around 2 characters at that point, and that's kind of exciting because what if you had a 4-player party and 2 of you were centaurs and the other 2, player 3 and 4 had to build around either 1 or 2.
okay, hear me out.
That's exciting.
We take the tiny mount. We take the tiny pony. We take Ponygate, so we're medium sized.
I can't wait to hear the end of this.
But we still have mount. So we can take a small person and put them on our back still. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I'm a centaur, and maybe I'm a centaur fighter with reactionary strike.
Sure.
That's pretty good. And maybe my no, sorry, I did this backwards. So my centaur is a paladin.
Okay.
A paladin champion with the reactive
Tanky horse.
Is a tanky horse. And then the person on my back is a rogue, maybe, with a reach weapon, maybe. And that rogue has a feat that allows them to, if one of their allies is adjacent to the opponent they're attacking, they count as being flat-footed for the purposes of sneak attack damage. And then my centaur is a paladin, so I'm going to be relying on building around my reactionary strike, or the paladin version of that. So basically, I'm in front. My rogue is on my back. I'm medium sized, so I only take up 5 feet. They have a reach weapon, or they could just use a normal weapon because they have reach of 5 feet, so they have the same reach as me. Or you could be large, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It doesn't actually matter. So you walk up, they're fighting. If the opponent attacks them, you reactionary strike them. And then the rogue gets free sneak attacks against anyone you're face-to-face with.
Sure. Okay, so wait. There's more. Hold my beer.
Okay, wait, don't tell me.
So large centaur.
Yeah.
And then the smaller centaur is the one riding the large centaur. God. And then there's a smaller sprite-like creature riding that one.
I hate it so much.
We've got a totem.
I hate it so much.
And it looks like a chimera when it's charging right at you.
It's true.
How many actions do they get?
I was literally just thinking that. So I guess
somebody needs to do the math and talk to us right now.
So the main centaur on the bottom would get 2, and it wouldn't actually need to take the feet, because the centaur in the middle would take the feet to give 3 actions to the one on top of it.
Okay,
but the centaur in the middle,
so far.
The centaur in the middle still only has 2 actions, regardless of what it does.
So this is one stride we've done so far.
So the one on the bottom doesn't actually need to take the mount me feat, the ride me daddy feat. Okay. Only the one in the middle needs to take the ride me daddy feat in order to give the awakened horse that's riding the tiny awakened horse that's riding on his back 3 actions to cast spells, because they have to be a spellcaster, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And the one on top has to be the bard with bullhorn.
Oh, absolutely. There
announcing
you go.
Everybody, here we come.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Please, so, artists that are listening or watching, please make this. I want to see.
We now have stackable horses, and it needs to be Pathfinder Society.
Oh God. Okay, going back to the builds.
Time well spent. I don't care.
So build paths: minor spellcasting, be someone's mount, herbalist. There's like herbalism and stuff like that. Archery is a minor build path here, and then there's just a bunch of miscellaneous feats. Archery is big.
Do they have a lot of cool archery things in here? Because that's typically if they're going like Greek mythological centaurs, like they said they were going to, it's all bows all day long, all the time.
So here's the thing: you get like 2 feats. I think maybe only 1. If I remember correctly, there's not that much. But to be fair, there's Starshot Arrow. There is. That's it.
So they got some representation in the one, I guess.
Cheese computer, mentor of legends, speaker training, proud mentor, just distant archer, a 5th level feat, a 17th level feat.
So without making every centaur an archer, they at least got some representation there, and the artwork even reflects it. Okay, I'm happy with that. I don't need much. I just need to know that they did what they said they were going to set out to do.
Yeah. They definitely gave you some options to be to enhance your archeriness.
The archeriness.
The thing about it we have to remember is like you only get ancestry feats at 1st, 5th, 9, 13, and 17.
Cracks me up how instantly you recall that shit.
They're so spread apart that like you can't really there aren't a lot of defined build paths you can create. Because your game is over most of the time at like 12th level. That means you only have access to 3 of these guys. You know what I mean? So, and Pathfinder's also trying to get away from like making games that have feat dependencies, like feat skills, like trees of feats. They're trying to get away from
feat
that.
Chains.
Yeah, feat chains.
Chains of feats.
Yeah. Or taxes.
Hoof chains.
Feet. Anyway, let's move on. So that's a centaur. It's pretty bussin'. Pretty bussin'.
I dig it.
Talk to me about the merfolk, man. This is getting into weird hentai place. places, Eric.
Hentai my ass. Merfolk is a long, wonderful tradition. Sexy girls with clamshell boobies.
Oh my gosh.
So Merfolk.
I got some pictures to show you. Please continue.
Moving on. So Merfolk, rarity is uncommon. So it's not like you go many years without seeing one of these things. They're not common, but they're not rare at all.
They're actually very common if you breathe water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So hit points 8. They're medium-sized creatures. Their land speed is 5. That cracks me up.
Yeah.
And I think of that scene in Little Mermaid where Ursula turned back into Ursula and she's on the ship.
Yeah.
And she's like powering with her arms to try to get over the side. Move at 5. That was not a 5 move she did in that cartoon. But anyhow. But they have a swim speed of 25, so we're back to normal if you're in the water. Attribute busts. They dig on dexterity and charisma, typically, and their dump is constitution. I don't think there's any shock there.
No.
They got a bunch of languages, and Thalassic is the one that's kind of got me because we just got done this past year of doing a whole range of elements kind of thing. And Thalassic was really big in that. You know, you're not just dealing with uplifted eels and shit like that. You can also go elemental with the mermaids. So
absolutely.
When I think of mermaids, I don't just think of, they're water critters and they deal with fish and, they stay away from sharks and, whatever. Or maybe they are sharks. But I like to go water elemental and brine dragons and, the weird planar shit when my brain conjures merfolk imagery. Traits are amphibious, humanoid, and merfolk. Amphibious is a trait. Does that get you anything right out the gate?
I don't remember.
Okay.
But it means you can breathe air and water.
Yeah, for some limited time, I imagine.
Nope, just permanently.
Permanently? Okay.
Pretty sure. I could be wrong. Don't quote me.
So aquatic grace is a thing they get. When you roll a success on a saving throw against a water effect, you get a critical success instead.
I love how niche this is. Like if you're in a water game, bruh, that shit's going to be happening all the time.
I just like on a lark, I went through and started because I made my build on a spellcaster and I needed water-based spells with the tags in them. There's enough of them in there and they're out there.
Okay, hear me out.
And I've seen them on NPC blocks.
Hear me out. You get the water equivalent of fireball.
If this isn't better than 3 stackable centaurs, I don't want to hear it.
It's not that good.
Nothing's that good. Continue.
Okay, thank you. I could just not talk for the rest of the fucking video. That's the
nobody out there wants that.
That's true. So just swim up to a group and then throw down the water equivalent of a fireball on top of yourself.
Sure.
And then when you succeed against your own saving throw, you get a critical success instead. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Hydro ball. Let's talk about hydration because that's
power
also
thirst.
Power thirst. Hydration is really important.
Hydration. So your body requires you to return to the aquatic environments at least once in a 24-hour period. The Aezerketi also had this.
Yep.
After the first 24 hours outside of water, you take a -1 status penalty to fortitude saves. After 48 hours, that's 2 days for you folks playing out there. You struggle
for you Europeans who don't speak in.
We ain't doing metric here. After 48 hours, you struggle to breathe air and begin to suffocate until returned to water. Same as the Aezerketi, which came out in the Lost Omens Absalom guide. I loved it then. I love it now. And it also encourages people who want to interact with these kinds of playable ancestries to encourage their GM to have more coastal material. Or swamp material or lake material, like salt lakes out in the middle.
Or you just have a wheelchair that is a bath.
Or you just have a power wheelchair. Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, honestly.
So that's hydration. They also get low light vision. Yay.
Yeah. We'll talk about the heritage here in a second. Yeah. Okay. Let's jump into the heritages because those are the basics. The first heritage is abyssal. So we've got abyssal, Carcharodon, pelagic, reef, and sailfish.
Yes.
So
I keep reading that as sunfish, and it makes me smile.
Oh yeah. Have you seen a sunfish before?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. As someone who grew up in Florida, I've seen a lot of sailfish in my life. I've actually fished for swordfish before, which is a wild experience.
So I've heard.
So abyssal merfolk, they get dark vision.
Yeah, they're deep sea anglers. You know, that makes sense.
The art for them is so fucking cool.
Do you remember the Ezerketti version of this?
No, I don't. No.
It was my character in your game.
Oh, gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
No, in Gabby's game.
Gabby's game.
But yeah, same idea. Deep sea and
They
light
also
bits.
have a thing that says they don't get crushed by the deep depths of the ocean.
Yep.
Which is like, okay, guys. I guess that's fine. I don't know. It just...
How many adventures are going down that far?
No, yes, that too. But it's like these are, I'm just getting whiplash from the centaur. You know what I mean? It's just like, you get +1 reflex bonus, and it's like, you get dark vision, and you don't get crushed. Right. I don't know. I'm just having whiplash. Carcharodon is actually fucking cool. The art for it is my favorite. It's like a Pacific Islander with like traditional Pacific Islander tattoos.
That's the shark one,
and
right?
Carcharodon is the science word for
I've
sharks.
never heard the word.
Yeah. Carcharodon Megalodon, bro.
I know Megalodon.
Okay.
Because I like dinosaurs.
So the first half of that is Carcharodon Megalodon.
And it's not a sexy Maori with shark booty.
No.
Loosely translated.
Oh my God. Furries,
Very
get in these
loosely
comments.
translated.
Post 6-digit links to stuff that Eric obviously wants to see.
Yeah.
Let me see it in the comments. Carcharodon, they've got like a really cool scent ability. When they're underwater, they can smell blood from like 500 feet away or something crazy like
Can't
that.
they do it in the air too with the particular feet?
Yeah, no, they could just do it in the air normally.
Just right out the gate?
With the
Okay.
feet, they get an even better version of it, basically.
That's cool, and that tickles my GM brain more so than my player brain.
Scent is very underrated, in my opinion, because it is a sense, which means that you just get to smell things.
Right.
And people don't realize how powerful that is until you have a player at the table who's just like, I listen at the door, and then I smell underneath the door, and the DM is just like flipping through his notes frantically, like, fuck, what do they smell like? You know what I mean?
And if you're in combat, then you still have to do the seek action to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's an extra piece of sensory detail.
Absolutely.
So when I'm running my when I'm GMing things, I take 2 or 3 senses of the 5 or 6 if you're using magical ones, and I kind of mix them up and try to throw that information at you. And it's just interesting, the kind of stuff that makes me go, oh, wow, about my own stuff I write when I start trying to describe what it is you smell. Because you guys went into a warehouse in the warehouse district of Absalom in one of my sessions, and there was a chemical clothing dye smell, a scent, and it was acrid, it was distinct, and then there was the oil lamp, again, acrid and distinct.
Oh my God, you're
all this
reminding
shit
me of
before
this.
you even open the door to get in, so you can actually start planning some of your shenanigans before you get to see what's in the room.
This reminds me of this TikTok. It was a TikTok meme. It was like a rehash of a Reddit post or something like that, where someone said, we can imagine anything you look at, you can imagine what it would feel like on your tongue. And it's so fucking weird because you begin looking around, looking at an object and being like, oh my God.
I'm looking at all the things in this room that I do not want on my tongue.
I can imagine what that would feel like on my tongue. And it freaks me out. It's not like we've gone around licking everything until, maybe when
we haven't. Speak for yourself, man.
So anyway, pelagic.
Don't blacklight this room.
Oh my God. Pelagic. Let's talk about pelagic merfolk.
Moving on.
You get a cool-ish shielding wave ability. This is, I don't know.
Robert's not happy.
This should have been a reaction, in my opinion. Read it
Am
for
I reading
the
again?
fans. Read it for the fans.
Pelagic merfolk. You're a merfolk of the open seas. Your tail is patterned after the silvery tuna and herring that school by the million in your hunting grounds. Water obeys your will. With a quick word, you can draw a sheath of it around you. You gain the shielding wave action. Shielding wave, 1 action, primal water tags. Traits. I've been corrected many times on this.
No traits. Traits.
Pick me. It's the same fucking group of people.
Dude, it's true.
You raise a magical barrier of twisting currents. Until the start of your next turn, the first time you take acid or fire damage, you gain resistance to that damage equal to half your level, minimum 1. The resistance is equal to your level instead if you're submerged in water. If you already cast a spell with the water trait, or if you used another ability with the water trait this turn. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to use it every session for sure.
All right. So next up is the reef. Reef gets minor like poison resistances, which is kind of cool. Resistance to poison damage.
Yep.
The extra stage reduction, that ability that they get is actually really powerful, in my opinion. So if you're walking into a poison game or you think it might be appropriate, if you're fighting assassins in the Edgewatch or something like that, then this poison resistance would be like actually very cool.
Did the Athamaru, the fish folk, did they have a poison option as well? I remember.
Yeah, they have like a coral healing ability that's legally distinct from this.
Yeah. So just the idea of having them both in the same party and the GM bringing poison as a theme.
I think
could be a cool way to go.
The theme of water purification is really strong in Rage of Elements, and they brought that theme forward with this.
Yeah, because of the radioactivity and all that other stuff. Yep. Yeah, I dig that. So combining Rage of Elements with this book in particular, I think would be pretty awesome.
Excellent combo. Finally, we've got Sailfish. They get a +5 feet swim speed, making them really, really good in the water. And they can also like jump out of the water really well, which I think is adorable. It's just adorable.
Yeah. Can you imagine they're like when they're little fish babies and they're in the bathtub and they're getting all, scrubbed up in the bath. And, their parents are scrubbing
baths?
them. Yeah. I mean, like, up in water. Up out of the water when they're living in the city.
Okay, got it.
And they're in communities with, actual people.
Sure.
And they're giving their little, baby sunfish. I keep doing that. Sailfish.
Yeah.
And then the baby just kind of squirms around and then leaps out of the bathtub and then goes back down. It's a cool little visual for me. Anyhow.
So build past.
It's 10 seconds you're not getting back.
Minor spellcasting. Again, they've got Merfolk.
They're really going for that, aren't they?
Merfolk particularly are spell focused. They're magical creatures.
Again, why I call them the elves of the sea. Yeah. They got the haughtiness. They've got the sort of like the. I remember a piece of language in here was like they treat magic like tools. It's kind of common, It's not unusual to see average, Joe Blow Merfolk being able to cast spells.
Yeah. Another build path is swimming really good. I'm talking, they swim really good.
Monk levels of good underwater.
And then there's just miscellaneous abilities. I love that picture of the tears.
Yeah, that's just
they have
majestic.
Some of the wildest ancestry feats. Just period. I want Eric to read one to us.
I get to read some more.
Insane. Read the second half of Healing Flesh for me, Eric.
The second half of Healing Flesh?
Yeah, the second paragraph.
Second paragraph. All right. Give me a voice to read it in. What am I doing? Am I doing like Late Night Motown?
Late Night Motown.
I'm coming at you live from Goblin Salvatries with the sounds of Healing Flesh. If someone were to eat your heart and liver within the hour of your death, they would be healed of all physical injuries, remaining hit points up to their maximum, and would cease to age for 8 years. Well, what do you think about that, Robert?
The fact they added this in to the end of this paragraph is insane.
It's fucking weird. And I think there's another thing somewhere. I don't know if it was mermaid specific, but it makes it so that if people bite into your flesh, it's poisonous. So you heal, you're poison. Yay, you get hit points. Oh no, you lose hit points.
Yeah.
It's a great little from Mermaid Country.
I have to say, I didn't want to talk about all the feats here, but
yes, you do.
The 9th level feats for the mermaid are almost all busted.
Yeah, we made our characters
busted.
a level 6. You're not going to see any of them on my build, but talk about those.
Ill Tide is actually busted. Reaction, a creature within 30 feet of you critically fails an attack roll, skill check, or saving throw once per day. Some land dwellers, blah, 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 blah. Who cares about the fluff? The next time the triggering creature attempts an attack roll, skill check, or saving throw, it must roll twice and use the worst result. Your opponent fails something, and then as a reaction once per day, you can give them disadvantage. In this game, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, advantage and disadvantage, to borrow the Pinkerton term, is so fucking good. Because the game is designed to where you pretty much always succeed or critically succeed.
Right.
If you're doing this properly at around 15 or 16. When you look at the math of rolling two dice and taking a better result, there's a 50-50 chance of you getting a 15 or higher.
Okay.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
So, and there's a 75% chance of you getting a 10 or higher. So rolling twice and taking the worst or better is incredible.
Next up is Shore Gift. It basically allows you to just transform into anything you want and get a land speed. Yeah,
Okay.
you basically just become a walking normal person.
Can you turn into a tinier centaur?
That would be hilarious.
Join the stack.
I think you'd have to stay the same person. I think you're just Ariel is her name. Just
Ariel?
with,
Yeah.
with legs. Yeah. I didn't really watch Disney movies, man.
Yeah, well,
kinda
you were
fucked
probably the Pixar generation by the time you came around.
Maybe. Yeah. My favorite one as a kid was Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one?
That's a popular one.
Yeah. It's because I don't have a dad either.
Well,
Anyway, where Siren Song. 3 actions, to be fair. Frequency once per day. Expert in performance. You can beguile and bewitch with your song. Okay, so this is the Siren Song spell ability, right? All creatures in a 60-foot emanation must attempt a will save against your performance DC. On subsequent rounds, you can sustain the song, causing each of those creatures in the area currently affected by your song to attempt another will save. Typically, creatures that have traveled with you for a significant amount of time are immune. So basically, all enemies within 60 feet.
yup.
If they get a critical success, the target is unaffected and can be affected for 24 hours. Typical. On a success, the target is fascinated with you until the end of your next turn. Newsflash, fascinated is good, especially against spellcasters.
I don't think I've ever seen it in a game.
That's because none of us have ever played the one with the swashbuckler. Yeah, swashbucklers do it big. On a failure, the target is stupefied 1 for as long as it's fascinated, and then a critical failure as success, but it's stupefied 2.
Good God.
Stupefied is strong. This is just a really powerful anti-spellcaster ability. I'm happy you can only do it once per day, because if not, it would be capital B busted. And then Tears of the Pearl is really good. It's not incredible like the other ones, but it's like an amazing healing ability. I remember. Another banger, once per day. Effect is only adjacent. Important to keep this in mind. Let's see here. All creatures adjacent to you must attempt a will save against the higher of your class DC or spell DC. The pearls dissolve at the start of your next turn. On success, unaffected success, the target is slowed. Oh, that's right. It's an AoE slowed 1 or slowed 1 until the start of your next turn. As it grabs for the pearls, it must spend the first action on its next turn to release them. One item it's holding. So basically, on a success, they're slowed 1. On a failure, they're slowed 1, and then they have to spend an action. So effectively slowed 2. On a critical failure, they're slowed 2 instead of slowed 1. So they basically lose their entire next round. Again, once per day ability. It's only adjacent. That's very important, but still very cool and a fun build around.
Yup. I dig it.
So anyway, that's all I have to say about the frickin' mermaid. Moving on.
How many more of these do we have? Is this going to be a 3-hour video?
We got Dos Mas. We got the mini.
Let's do them quick.
We got the mini tars. The mini little
Me
baby
and
tars.
90% of our audience are conking out.
Legally distinct bull people. Play an awakened bull. I dare you. They're large, but they can be small.
Yeah.
So I just
Pygmy bulls.
I defined the Minotaur in Pathfinder 2nd Edition as giant-sized stoic nerds who like Lego and hyper-focusing on things.
Giant-sized stoic nerds who like Lego.
Yeah. That's basically what they are. They're giant-sized nerds who like building things. I like Lego too. They're large and in charge. They get base 10 HP, 25-foot movement speed, plus 2 to strength, plus 2 to con, and a free with a -2 charisma. They get dark vision and a horns attack, 1d8 damage for free. They're also uncommon.
So Minotaurs and Centaurs both are just down on charisma. They just don't play well with others.
Yeah, but they're also bussin', dude. They're just stronger than many other uncommon ancestries.
They're the thug wile in Ancestry.
They're the creep. They got the creep going on, in my opinion. Yeah. They got the creep. So let's talk heritages. Heritagei. We got Ghost Bull, Glacier, Little Horn, Roaming, and Slab Soul. Oh, and Stalker. Ghost Bull it lets you cast a spell called Know the Way, which is like...
Right, because of the maze theming.
Yeah.
They kept it.
It's so dumb. It's just a bad spell.
It's mythological.
Yeah, but it's like, give me a cantrip I can pick, and not like this one specific cantrip that no one ever picks. You know what I mean? Anyway.
I think it was the right call.
Okay.
Every build can't be Apex.
Yeah, but it can give you... Anyway. All right. Next one's Glacier. It makes you resistant to cold damage and makes you good at being in cold environments. If you're playing a cold game, this is great. Very thematic. Little Horn. All right. I got beef with this one.
You got beef. Big
Get
beef.
It? Get it? Because they're bowls. Get it? Yeah, that's funny. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Get it? Big, little. Get it?
Little Big Burger. Have you been to Little Big Burger before?
Yeah. I don't like their mushroomy ketchup.
You don't like it?
No.
Okay.
I'm not a mushroom guy.
So remember how Centaur got to be little and then got a +1 circumstance bonus to reflex saves?
Yeah, and they stack. I remember.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Well, their little version. What does it say, Eric? You get to speak.
Little Horn. All right. What's my voice this time?
Give me a sultry. Give me a sultry Little Mermaid girl.
What the hell are you doing to me?
Yeah, you asked.
Though no less powerful, your frame and your horses are smaller than those of most other minotaurs. Instead of large, your size is medium. Your horse's unarmed attack deals 1d6 piercing damage instead of 1d8, but it has the agile trait. That's the best I got.
That's not sultry enough, Eric.
Well, I did my Motown. That's all the sultry you get
All
from
right,
this,
that's
this
fair.
minotaur.
That's fair. So instead of getting a cool bonus and making you cooler, you get worse.
Okay.
And agile. Woo. I mean, agile, like there's a couple niche places where like you could now use your horn attacks to like be a rogue and stab people as a rogue or like a swashbuckler. You can swashbuckle. You can, I saw that. I sent you that meme where because it becomes agile, you can use your horns attack to devise a stratagem for the investigator. So you can use your head to use your head.
Yep.
That was pretty funny. But like, it's just why? Why would they make it just worse?
I can
It makes
only
no sense.
imagine that there are feats that sink into that. Otherwise, you're right.
There are some horn combat feats, but like there are some hoof combat feats. Why didn't they make the hoof attack less powerful? Anyway, so that's my issue there. If you know why
Robert
they
got
did
beef.
it in the comments, if please, the designer for this book, yell at me, please. I need to know. What were you thinking?
Or join the Patreon and legally shit on Robert.
Legally shit on me. Yeah, I would love it for a fucking designer of Pathfinder to become
Just like a
patron.
1 month subscription to come yell at you and then,
I fucking take
I
it on
demand
the
a
chin.
refund.
I will take it on the chin. But you are
fucking
not getting
GSR guys and their
you're
nonsense.
not getting a refund. Next heritage is called roaming. Trained in survival, and you get like a cool terrain feat that allows you to move fast in those terrains and ignore difficult terrain. Pretty mid. Slab Soul. This one's kind of weird. It basically lets you summon a giant slab of rock to slam down on
I was
someone.
thinking beef, but okay.
What's ironic about this ability is specifically does not state that the spell effect disappears afterwards.
So just like piles of rock.
You could just make a big pile of rocks, right? Because it's not once per day, right? No, it's not. Yeah, you could just keep
You
doing
gain the raised slabs activity.
Yeah. What's the frequency?
Frequency once per day.
Oh, fuck. All right. Well,
Okay.
And that kills my dream. All right. Whatever.
Yeah, but like one a day for a year.
I guess, yeah.
Make yourself a Stonehenge.
Exactly. I mean, we've talked about the forest making kineticist before on the
Right.
kineticist video where you
Yeah.
can just shit out trees like no one's business.
Painful. Splinters?
Splinters. Well, you've got an extra dimensional portal in your butthole to the tree dimension,
Okay, but at least lubricate with sap.
the wood dimension. Finally, we've got Stalker.
Anatomically not possible.
They
but okay.
got little hooves that are
Little hooves?
silent.
Wee
They got
hooves?
silent little hooves. They got furry little
Little
hooves.
tappy taps without the sound.
Yeah. So one of the interesting build paths for the
You walk
Minotaur.
on shaggy hooves. They muffle your footfalls.
What's weird about the Minotaur is they actually gave you a build path to be stealthy. Which is so
in my
weird.
imagination, that's scary as fuck.
It is. It really is. But like, is there any mythological backing to like a sneaky centaur?
Not that I recall. I mean, Centaurs were hunters. They were archers. So they need to be able to creep through the woods.
Minotaurs.
Not Minotaurs. No, a Minotaur is just like move
raging
through the
bulls.
labyrinth, and they're on like stone grounds, so you can hear the sounds reverberate. Anyhow, that's all
So
the stories I
maybe
remember.
they threw it a curveball and they made him sneaky.
They wanted the shaggy ones. Yep.
Yeah,
like
there
the
are
bison minotaurs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but there are like multiple versions. There are multiple feats that allow you to be really stealthy, like decently stealthy as a minotaur. So that's one of the. They have a lot of build paths. They have a lot of like things that are going on here. They have a lot of feats. So, of course, like every other thing in this book, they have a bunch of minor spellcasting. You can pick up minor spellcasting. They have somehow sneaky is what I called it. Like somehow they have some sneaky feats that all line up. They have like rock and slab themed feats.
Cool.
They have some.
I dig it.
They have some. I'm good at crafting feats, which you'll see when we talk about the characters we built. That's how I built my character around the crafting stuff.
Oh god, we still have that to do.
And then they got combat with horns feat. And then they have lol fuck mazes feats. They have like 3 or 4 different feats, like know the way, and they have one feat at level 9 that allows them to like literally phase through stone, which is busted in my opinion. Considering most dungeons are made out of rock walls, that's actually heckin' strong. They also have hilarious feats that push their other friends around. So they have a level 1 feat.
Shift the little ones.
Yeah, they have a level 1 feat that allows you to shove your friends, and they can choose to be willing, and
Friendly
then
nudge.
you get a critical success on it, which I think is awesome.
That's cool.
And then they have another one that's a play on
It's like battlefield control for your allies.
Exactly. It's like giving
I've
your
never
allies
seen
movement. You saw it in the kineticist. The wind kineticist has a really powerful ability at level 1 where they can move up to 4 friends.
I guess I've never
15
seen it
feet.
like in person.
Right. And then this one.
Friendly fling?
Friendly fling. This is also another ability that barbarians can do, but they get it. So you can literally yeet your smaller friends around the battlefield. It's fucking hilarious. Gnome throwing. All right. So we're on the last ancestry.
Okay, let's do this.
All right. So
Circe, bug people, dung beetles with
bug
opinions.
people. Dug people. Yeah. Dug people with
Dug
opinions.
people?
Bug people with opinions. Dung bug people with opinions. So anyway, these are magical subterranean bug people.
Rare.
That are rare, very important, and they definitely do some rare stuff. They definitely have that rare
They have
power.
one attribute boost, and it's Constitution.
Yes.
The others have 2.
So that's because they did something interesting with the Circe. I'll get into it here in a minute. Culturally speaking, they're really inquisitive. I describe them as inquisitive, magic-eating dung beetles. They start as larvae, eating a certain kind of magic, one of the 4 flavors, if you will. And then they become people, and then they become magic people after eating magic for long enough. Rare, 8 HP, 25-foot speed, con and a free, dark vision, and then Magiphage.
Magiphage, yep.
They don't need to eat or drink normally if they're in a normal magic environment, which is kind of cool.
So how do they consume nutrients?
They filter feed magic from the world around them.
That's pretty rad.
It's a really cool idea. This builds into their heritages. So I really love what the designers tried to do here. They made like 4 or 5 heritages that'll have a normal heritage ability. And then they tied other abilities to those heritages, 2 abilities each for each heritage. And
I see that.
at 9th level, you get to pick one of those 2 abilities to coalesce in. The idea is you go from being a normal person to a magic person. And your heritage informs one of the 2 abilities.
Your final form?
Yeah, exactly. Your final form, what you get to pick. So it's a cool little design trick.
Yeah, that's
in
cool.
space.
And are they the only example of that?
Absolutely.
In
the only
second edition
example.
so far?
Yep. This is new ground.
I'll be damned. Okay, this is cool. Just by itself, that's worth the price of admission.
Exactly.
So talk to me about breaker circes.
So breakers get claw attacks, and then their evolutions let them get force damage claw attack, which is actually really powerful because force damage is often not resisted at all.
Right.
So just having a fuck you ideal damage button is definitely handy to have in your
Brute
back
force
pocket.
approach.
And speaking of brute force, it also gets like the wrecker or a trait. What's the trait that it gets? this trait right here, breaker. It should be one of this first ability. This trait allows you to like deal extra damage to objects, which is not something I literally had to look it up when I was first looking at this because I'd never seen this trait before. It was kind of weird to me.
I'm not seeing it at all.
Oh, no worries. It is not a big deal. So next up is
The Elytron Circi.
Yeah, the Elytron Circi. They are like the hard carapaced version. They take no fall damage. Sorry, I'm wrong. They're the flying version. They're the ones that get wings, basically.
Gotcha.
So they take no fall damage, which is cool. And
They're
then
flying dung beetles.
when they evolve at 9th level, they can cast fly once per day, which is very good.
At what level?
9th.
At 9th. Okay.
Which is super appropriate, very appropriate, but also a strong ancestry ability
You don't
just
have to buy
have
it,
in
you
your
just
back
get it.
pocket. You just get it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That's rad.
And oftentimes, one fly a day is all you really need in order to handle the problem that you need to deal with fly, right?
Okay.
And I think fly lasts like 10 minutes in this edition. And then their second evolution is like an action, which is kind of cool. You want to go ahead and read that, Eric?
Yeah.
That one right there.
Elytron. What is that word? I've never seen it before.
Yeah.
All right, so stridulating song. 2 actions, auditory magical, frequency, once per day, effect. What's my voice?
Give me a high-pitched, eccentric bug person.
Oh, Christ, I apologize deeply. And this is Robert's fault. You circulate magic through your wings, causing them to vibrate at high speeds such that their scraping produces disruptive sounds. You focus on the sound of one creature within... Fuck this. You focus on the sound of one creature within 30 feet who must succeed at a fortitude save against your class DC or spell DC, whichever's higher. Or become sicken 1 or sicken 2 on a critical failure. As the vibrations disrupt the inner equilibrium... Period. Full stop. You can sustain the effect for up to 1 minute. The creatures cannot recover from the sickened condition as long as you continue your song, and it can hear you. So keep it up and you keep it going.
Yeah, so this
That's
is
pretty rad. I like that.
pretty strong because sickened is basically -1 or -2
Yeah.
to everything.
Yeah.
And it's
Powerful.
very hard to get rid
It's
of.
screwed a number of my encounters.
Yeah. Stinky cloud, baby.
Still haven't apologized for that.
Nope. Never
So
will.
what is it that hard shell circuits are known for?
They're the ones who get free breastplate. So remember like our
They're
coral,
the ones with hard shells?
Yeah, exactly. So like our coral friends before that got
Right.
coral armor, they get
They're
hard
the champions
shell.
of the shit rolling bud people.
Yeah. Their first evolution basically gives you the ability to turn critical hits into normal hits
Oh.
on a 1 in 5 chance,
Okay.
which
Still.
is incredibly powerful. Like literally there's a 1 in 5 chance, a 20% chance to turn double damage into single damage, which is very good.
And then throw them into the new War of the Immortals playtest.
Yeah.
What's the second one?
I don't know.
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
You mean the defender and the strategist or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not War of the Immortals. It's the one after that.
Yeah, it's the one after that. Yeah. I don't know what they were doing with those. I feel like they're running out of ideas.
I'm beginning to wonder.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a topic for another video.
Right. So evolution number 2. It looks like your abdominal nodes can project a field around you that guards you against the type of magic you're most familiar with, and you get the dampening harmonics action. It's a whole nother action.
Yeah. So basically, you pick a magic, one of your 4 flavors of magic that I talked about. That's the kind of magic you eat. And that thread ties into a bunch of their abilities.
That's cool.
So the one you picked is the one you have resistance to. And then
Yeah, and you can do this once per hour too. So a lot of these in this book I'm noticing are once a day. This one you can do it 24 times.
Yep.
Sweet.
Basically gives you bonus resistance to that damage.
Yeah. Totally cool when you know what you're walking into.
Yeah, it's situational, but when it slaps, it slaps. Lantern.
Lantern Circi. That sounds interesting.
They make light.
Oh, they're light bugs.
They're light
They're
bugs.
bright lights.
Unfortunately, it's a class that has dark vision. So it alone is kind of dumb and not good at all in comparison to just
Can you
getting
control the
free
lights?
armor.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, of course. But their first evolution,
makes up for it because you get to shoot fucking laser beams
Freaking laser beams
out of your eyes.
Yep.
It's a dung beetle with laser beams. Eric, read it for the people. Read it for the people, Eric.
Lantern beam?
Yes.
All right, it's one action. Light, fire, magical. Requirements, your lantern light is shining. Effect. Your lenses focus your light into a searing beam. You deal 5d4 fire damage to all creatures in a 30-foot line. With a basic saving throw against the higher of your class DC or spell DC. Your lantern light then extinguishes, and you can't use this ability or use your lantern light again for 1d4 rounds. At 11th level and every 2 levels thereafter, the damage increases by 1d4. Neat.
Yeah, and you
It's like the Care Bear stare for shitbugs.
yeah, it's a literal fucking laser beam you get to shoot once every D4 rounds. It's awesome. From a mechanics perspective, it's actually not that powerful, but from a fucking cool perspective, 3 gold stars. And then the other ability is actually not bad either. It's like a once per hour AoE save or suck, dazzled or blinded.
Looks like it.
Pretty decent.
And that makes perfect sense. That's what I would expect from that.
So those are the 4 heritages. You've got hard shell, flying, the claws, and then you've got the light.
That I just didn't see that entire ancestry coming, and I'd never want to see it at my table. I mean, unless we're doing a super specifically themed game around a bug's life or ants or something like that.
You wouldn't want to see that at your table? Why not?
It's weird. That's such a dumb thing to say on this particular podcast.
Keep it weird, Eric.
It sucks all of the imaginative oxygen out of the room and draws all the cameras to it. Like if a 6 foot tall walking bug creature with, a rave show on its breastplate walks into a room, it doesn't matter who else is walking in with you. Everybody is going to be paying attention to that thing, and every single scene will be about that guy.
Okay, listen. But if you're in a party full of that plus a fucking tiefling plus a anthropomorphic whatever plus if everyone's weird.
Tieflings look like weird people.
Okay.
Elves look like weird people. Mermaids from the waist up look like people.
Okay.
But then this fucking giant tank of a insect thing rolling its 4-foot shit ball across
there's
the
no
floor.
actual dung ball. It rolls, Eric. To be fair, they're actually not.
But it does this little ravey rave show as it walks into the room. And a little dance number. It just seems like a lot of Jim Henson will go into every single scene you ever come across.
It's big pick me energy for sure.
Yeah, it's like the investigator I used to claim about.
God.
Like the first part of every single scene is about the investigator, and when a bug walks into the room, the first part of every RP scene is going to be about that. And it's very much a pick me energy. I'm going to totally steal that phrase. And probably use it wrong for a while.
Yeah, it's been on the internet for a while. Yeah.
But I love the art. I love the ideas. I love the what seems to be the what do you call it? The way a lot of these ideas just kind of like pool together, and you get your forward progression through your levels.
I mean, if you're playing like a Darklands adventure, it makes perfect sense because they are subterranean.
I would want everybody in the party to be this.
Really?
And then the story to revolve around that.
That would be cool.
So,
that would be
but
cool.
like just one of these in a party with other people, it just feels to me like the way I run games, at least. I just wouldn't be able to imagine anything other than what the hell are you? And they're rare too.
Yeah, they're rare.
So it just seems like all the cameras are going to be on them all the time.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't know.
So build paths real quick.
Build paths, what do you got?
Minor magic again. They can cast magic, but at least minor magic makes a lot of sense because they literally eat magic. They absorb magic. They have a feat. Okay. Let me wax poetic a little bit. They have a feat that literally lets them to eat a magic spell. Attempt a counteract check against the spell to just get rid of it.
Right.
And then they get indigestion and they become sickened or something like that for like a round or two.
I'm totally picturing one of these guys walking into a room and somebody else in the party goes, "Can anybody detect magic?" And then the little bug kind of lights up, and then he starts putting his little crab bib around and he casts detect magic.
Okay, that's adorable. Flying and making flying even better is another option here. Ranged attacking and using that laser beam effect, or like just doing ranged attacks in general, good. And then like a melee fighter that focuses on breaking things is powerful, and definitely a build path you find here.
And then there's a bunch of cool miscellaneous things that are like weird bug related stuff that are very thematic. All right, so those are the 6 ancestries that are in Howl the Wild.
I think we did that in under 5 hours.
We did that in under 2 hours, right? Check the tapes.
I think
check
it's
the
more
tapes.
than 2 hours.
But look at that. We're looking at the recorder. What does it say? What does it say?
It says 31.
Okay,
on top
so
of wherever we were.
No,
before.
we were probably at an hour and a half right now. Probably an hour and a half.
Okay.
Maybe hour 30, hour 40.
So what's left to talk about?
Let's talk about these 2 characters we made. So we were challenged with making a character, and Eric and I talked beforehand, and we made our characters for our games that we're running. So I made a character for Kingmaker, and Eric made a character for Edgewatch.
Yup.
In my mind, when I was building mine, I built it to be a part of your group because you're kind of missing, in my opinion, another melee threat in the party. So I chose the Minotaur originally.
Right. We lost a barbarian and got a witch.
Yeah. And now you're gonna get another barbarian. Yeah. Do you want to talk about yours first?
Sure. Mine will be pretty fast. So awesome. I went with Ariel from The Little Mermaid because I really wanted to do the mermaid ancestry. I've been waiting for this for years.
Really?
So
I didn't know you liked it that much.
You know, I like it that much for all the reasons we've covered, and I just want to play an aquatic game, like an actual, legitimate aquatic game with fish people, with eel people, with mermaid people, shark people, octopus, squid people. I want that experience. I've never had it. And I just, my imagination lights up at the whole like Z-axis approach to battle grid stuff. So it's like what we do with flying and Edgewatch, only underwater. So Little Mermaid, fine. That's on its face. That's enough of an idea to rip off of. But I wanted to go a little deeper and kind of like make my brain light up. What do I do? Long story short, I tried to picture like the cast of The Little Mermaid. What would it look like using this book, using the other books we have? And I tried to think of like, you haven't seen it, so I'm basically speaking to the people out here who have seen it. Ariel, I made her a witch. She's not a witch in the movie, but I really wanted her to be a witch because Ursula was a witch, and Ursula died, but I forgot about that.
For the record, I have seen The Little Mermaid.
Oh, you have seen it. Okay, good.
Just like
then you know
when I
all
was
this.
a child very long ago and I barely remember the plot.
Okay,
but
sure. But you remember there was a big octopus witch?
There was a
Ursula?
mermaid who wanted to be a real boy.
She wanted to be a real boy.
And she fell in love with a boy and
Named?
she's like... Eric? Okay.
Yeah, with a C, but still.
Yeah, close enough.
Half props.
And she went to the Wicked Witch of the Water and was like... Hey, can I have legs? And she's like,
I will trade my voice for legs because that's a good deal.
Got it. And
yeah, so there's sort of like a devil's bargain.
Yeah.
Is a part of the whole thing.
What do they call that? A Freudian slip?
A Faustian bargain? Is that what you're going for?
Yeah,
okay, all right. Kinda.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense, yeah. So I wanted to tell that story to my head using rules without having to hand wave everything. Our last episode I talked a lot about that, and this book makes all that possible. So instead of just redoing The Little Mermaid according to Pathfinder, what if we go forward in the story after Ursula's dead? What happens next? You know, Ariel is up on water. She marries the prince, and she becomes the princess, later on the queen. But what does that look like if she's a witch? So that's what I made.
Okay, cool.
All right. So Ariel is a merfolk, reef merfolk. I went with the coral route because that was truer to the Disney version. And I'm not talking about the Hans Christian Andersen version. I'm sticking with Disney because most of us know it. She needs a familiar, right? Because she's a witch. I just picked the crab, Sebastian.
Yeah.
And then I gave him all the familiar like abilities. I'll read him off in a minute. But the idea of like Scuttle. A Scuttle can be a tenku, like an actual creature that exists in Pathfinder. And Flounder can be an uplifted fish or one of the fucking fish people we were just talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fishmen. So that's kind of what that's all about. The patron for the witch we decided was the Ripple in the Deep. And I just had this really cool imaginative moment. Like, what if that's who was telling Ursula what to do?
I thought that's where you're going with this. That's so cool. Yeah,
and this patron was playing the long game, and Ursula was just that chapter. Ursula goes away, and now the patron's looking for the next best thing. Oh, look, it's Ariel. Yeah. So at first I was going to make Ariel a bard because,
Right.
But then I thought, no, let's make her like the next witch. Oh. And so this patron is actually pushing the agenda. Enter Edgewatch. which is a coastal community. And the idea of having, mermaids and Azerketi and shit like that out on the coast, it's already baked into there. And to have her kind of show up, and she's a noble. I use a noble background. It's the rare one that gives you an extra thing.
Yeah.
So she shows up and she finds a Prince Erik. And in our Edgewatch game, that would be Ulthun,
Oh my gosh. Stealing Ulthun away from Ted.
So,
oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's kind of what I was playing with there. I gave her cognitive crossover, to do recall knowledge checks.
That's such a
Ursula
cool
was a bright woman. She knew things. So this is us basically. It's kind of like the whole the Star Wars, the apprentice becomes the master kind of a story I was working with here. Entities resurgence reaction. You would be reduced to 0 hit points, but not immediately killed. Instead, letting you fall unconscious. Your entity takes control of you, puts you at 1 hit point, and my patron takes over my aerial mermaid body and no, you don't, and gets me back up and puppeteers me the way it does.
That's awesome.
Speed 15 feet, and that's without use of mechanical means, without the wheelchair, but she has a wheelchair because that's what you do if you're a mermaid, apparently. I gave her a spear. I kind of like the idea of a slow 15-foot movement with a spear is sort of like it helps her get around until she can fly. She's got wings now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Vicious Critique was a really cool... what's the name of that Magic the Gathering set where you had separate colors? When you combine them, you get an actual school of people or a guild of people. I think is Ravnica.
Ravnica.
Yeah. So they're doing some skill feats like that now, where it was crafting and something else. You put them together. And it gives you a general and skill. Vicious Critique. I think it was out of the dwarf book.
Yeah, you get to use your crafting check to demoralize someone.
Yeah, so you have to be trained in crafting and intimidation,
Right.
2 separate skills. If you get them both, you have access to this. And
cool.
I love that because that just gives you exponential access to
Absolutely.
new design space. You're about to attempt to coerce a merchant or a crafter. You have an eye for detail and a mouth for pointing out flaws, which makes it all the easier to convince merchants and crafters to help you. Remember the Little Mermaid? She had a cavern full of shit. She was collecting stuff all over the place. And now she's up on the surface world and, she's the queen now and she's talking to crafters and now she's coercive. She's a witch. She's going to the dark side.
She loves her trinkets. She loves her baubles.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I thought Vicious Critique was a nice little sort of in the future Ariel when she goes dark. I wanted to do either Void and or the other one. Vitality. Tap Vitality is the one I picked because, again, we're modeling after Ursula, and she's a dark lady.
Yeah.
So primal prepared spells. I'm a witch. I went primal instead of arcane. Wall of Water, Tempest Cloak, Crashing Waves, Water Breathing, Brine Dragon Bile. I fucking love that reaction. I think it's a reaction. The Enlarge, because Ursula enlarged the fuck out of herself, and, big-ass trident. Tailwind, Aqueous Blast, Briny Bolt, Detect Magic, Spout, Electric Arc. When she got enlarged, she did the lightning around the trident.
Okay.
It was a visual. Okay. So I tried to pick everything that thematically just came out of the movie in some small detail. Scatter Scree. Ursula did that when she got big. Invoke True Name. She's making deals with people and taking their voice and their souls and whatever. And being able to... invoke that. I thought that was appropriate for the witch and the patron and all that as well. I took Sting of the Sea, Elemental Betrayal, Mycological Malady.
Yeah.
I picked, and I think that has to do with my familiar. And the reason I picked that is I was running out of options. But I remember in The Little Mermaid, when you go into Ursula's little cave and all the merfolk that got shrunk to the little kind of fungoid-looking, tragic, terrible people, and they their contracts expired and they failed, basically. They kind of look like little shriveled, shrunken mycological things. So that's bringing that back into it. Phase Familiar, Focus Spell. That's for me to get Sebastian in. I ended up giving Sebastian the speech feat, familiar feat, so he can talk because Sebastian talks. And sing, right? Yeah. So Sting of the Sea, Elemental Betrayal, Mycological Malady, Basic Lessons. I stuck with the lessons on these because I really like them. Entity Strike, Greater Lesson, Irizoku Tattoo. She's all tattooed up now.
Ooh.
Again, she's getting, a little more metal. Lasting Coercion. That's a total Ursula thing to spin down through Ariel. And again, originating at the patron. Living Vessel Dedication. The patron's inside me. Just like it was inside Ursula.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's a really cool archetype choice.
Reef Merfolk. I already talked about that.
Yeah.
I took the Strong Tail to give me that extra movement on land. Performer Wave Speaker. Again, she sings. Witch Spell Casting. And I think that's basically all of it. I took the Greater Lesson, Lesson of Decay. The Hex Spell was Phase Familiar. And Overwhelming Tides was the familiar of Overwhelming Tides. And I tried to build everything around the idea that Ariel is now sort of on the receiving end of this witch patron. And Sebastian is sort of evolving and monstering up alongside her as well. And this crab's getting bigger and meaner. And it's, sharp little spiny teeth. And not quite so Disney anymore. Not quite as candy as in the original.
That's the most Eric thing to do to a Disney film. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's cool that you mentioned the San Francisco Disney game that we did that one time, because that was the spirit I was kind of operating in when I did this. And that was Ariel as a 6th level witch with access to specifically Howl of the Wild. And I think I only used the remaster chord book for a second source.
Sweet.
So that's what I got.
Let's talk about John the Carpenter.
John the Carpenter from Kingmaker. You made him.
So I imagined, what if John the Carpenter was wearing a ring that magically hid his true form from the party this entire time?
Am I getting insider knowledge here?
Which is that he's actually a Minotaur.
Ah, okay.
A Minotaur artisan. So basically I was like, what if John the Carpenter was, so my players ran and Kingmaker ran to this random NPC I came up with a name for.
He was a robber.
John. Yeah, just a bandit. They spared his life. I named him John haphazardly. They brought them back to Oleg's trading post, and Eric was like, "Go help the people or die."
Yeah, give him a job or get the fuck out.
Yeah,
that was kind of.
And he was like, "I could build stuff. My dad was a carpenter."
Yep.
So he started building stuff, and they came back, and so on and so forth, and he got better and better. And now they're starting a new nation, he's kind of like the foreman of all the new buildings.
He stuck around long enough and played by the rules.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, John the Carpenter. You told me to pick a free archetype for this. Yeah. So I went through the list and I picked the funniest, the most appropriate one. So he is a lumberjack.
And that's okay.
John the Carpenter, the lumberjack. So it's a Minotaur barbarian with the giant instinct. I had to go barbarian giant instinct.
All right.
So it's a large Minotaur with a not gargantuan, with a huge weapon. And that huge weapon is an axe.
Okay.
A fucking wood axe. So he's got a huge wood axe.
The kind you take down sequoia trees with.
Exactly. So his whole thing is he walks around into the forest and he fells trees in literally one swoop with his giant axe.
I'm glad he's on our side.
And he's also got these 2 battle axes on the side that he uses to, like, he can climb trees with the battle axes and stuff like that. That's an actual ability I found from the thing.
I imagine dwarves can do it with picks.
Yeah, so I did the roaming Minotaur. I gave him sudden charge. He's got the giant instinct, so he's got a big fuck you weapon with dealing extra damage, of course. We went no escape route with the lumberjack dedication. I gave him a really high intelligence because I wanted to lean into the crafter in him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it's a barbarian who gets mad and he takes his angry energy out on chopping trees.
On trees. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Before it comes back and touches the fine equipment.
Exactly. Yeah. So he has like the swipe ability. He has an ability called log roll, which is a great lumberjack ability where you basically what I love about this ability, it's not appropriate for him. It's actually this whole archetype sucks for a strength-based character, but I wanted to be on theme for you.
Aww.
What's cool about this ability is you make an acrobatics check to trip someone, basically, but it doesn't have the attack trait. Yeah. So you make an acrobatics attempt to trip someone, and it doesn't have the attack trait. So you can just do it twice and without any difference to your attack.
And that wasn't errated?
Nope.
Okay.
So it's a tiny little piece of niche
Yep.
thing that's actually kind of good,
Yeah, and it got used.
but it's on the wrong build, so it's actually not optimal at all.
And it will never show up again.
So the idea here is you're a barbarian. I took attack of opportunity, and I took the ancestry feat stretching reach. So basically, you spend one action to change your grip, and now you have a 10-foot reach. 10-foot reach with the battle axe means that if I'm a medium creature is right next to me and they try to move away, I can use reactionary strike and attack them as they try and flee.
Yep.
They have to step twice in order to not.
You
get
already
hit by my
occupy
thing.
4 squares.
Exactly.
Getting 10 feet. Yeah.
So
I mean, our maps were only so big.
Yeah, it's a very basic build. Honestly, it's just the basic barbarian attack of opportunity. We've got swipe, which is basically old cleave, where you just hit 2 people next to each other. But because he can reach further, he can, like, if someone is behind the person he's targeting,
Right.
because he has that reach, he's able to hit them both.
Yep.
If I wanted to be really OP with this build, I would have either made him a fighter or a champion, and then gone the whole reactionary strike route. Give him the reach, so now he has a 15-foot reach, and then give with a reach weapon. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So just really extend that reach and really kind of control the battlefield in that way. So yeah, John the Carpenter. I was like, I wanted to lean into the artisan side of the Minotaur, and also kind of like pluck
That's
a character
cool.
out
That's
of our
cool.
Kingmaker game. And
I'm looking
transform
forward
him.
to feigning surprise at the table when that pops up.
I don't know if I'm actually gonna make him. I don't know. Would that be too?
This
weird?
isn't canon?
Not yet.
I don't know. Should it be canon?
You tell if enough goblins yell at me in the comments and say I should make this canon, I will absolutely make it canon.
Okay.
So what do you think, Eric? Is that the end of the episode?
I think we're approaching hour 6. I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, goblins. Those are the ancestors from Howl the Wild. As always,
Keep it
keep
weird.
it weird.